Hey, you mentioned Sam Darnold. What do you think it is? There's some quarterbacks around the league. Obviously, they get to the second, third stop, and they seem to flourish. They seem to kind of do well in whatever the system may be. The players around them. Like, what do you make of that? Why does it not work sometimes? Obviously, works somewhere else later on in your career.
Well, most of us are system quarterbacks, and that's gotten a knock as being like, oh, you're only a system. Some of us can be the system. You can bring a certain type of way of playing, and you add in a cadence or play fake ability or different things that evolves the system. But there's guys that can plug and play. I mean, you got the guys listed there. Andy Dalton played in a lot of systems. He's a plug and play guy. Joe Flacco, plug and play guy. Kirk Cousins, plug and play. I mean, all those guys, yeah, I mean, I could say about all those guys. I mean, but they all, see, Baker was a top pick. Sam was a top pick. Andy was a top pick. Flacco was first rounder. Kirk, I think, was second rounder. Gardner was a later pick, I believe. Not sure about Derek, but a lot of those guys, had some struggles early in their career, and it takes a while. The development of the quarterback. That's why you got to give so much credit to what Jaden's doing in Washington, because that's the outlier. I mean, that's the anomaly. Most of us, it takes a little time for us to figure it out, and especially with the way quarterbacks being coached in college, and they're not calling plays, they're not audibling, they're not huddling up, they're not taking a snap under center. The NFL is a different game. The NFL is playing under center, especially with the way defenses are playing now with all this two shell. You got to play under center. You got to run the football. You got to have play action, as you guys said that stat about Jared Goff, and all the yards that came off of the action game. There's a learning curve, and that's why what Jaden's doing in Washington is an outlier, and he deserves a lot of credit, as does Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn for obviously the environment he's created there. But most of us, we take a little time to get into it. We need some time to learn the game, to grow, to not have overreactions about our play. Whoa. Think if Peyton Manning had been playing in 2024 his rookie year. Gosh, I mean, think about the overreactions that would have happened with that.
We wouldn't.
That's why I think you got to give a guy like Bryce Young some time. Like whether it's in that system or another system, like it takes time, and you get place this mantle on you to be this savior for a team that's usually not very good if they're picking high. It's usually not one player away. And sometimes in the offseason, the GM can come in and bring in the right pieces and also pick a guy, or you have draft capital, as we saw with Chicago, where you have a number of different pieces you can bring in to put around the first pick to put them in a position to be as successful as possible. But it's the Jaden Daniels are the outliers. And most of us, we need to take some time. And whether we have the time to do that as a backup, that's the best way. That just doesn't happen very much or at all in the NFL anymore. So now you got to figure it out on the run. You have to have an owner who's patient and trust the process. And you have to have a team that continues to build and get better and not crush your confidence, as some of those guys dealt with early in their career. So I salute all those guys for the way they're playing. I know some of them well. I don't know others as well, but they're all guys who are exemplify patience with the quarterback position, which there's very little of in our game now.
Okay, there's so many different topical conversations we could have off of your answer right there. Thank you for giving that answer and the depth that you did. Obviously, what you say about the matter matters a lot more than what us or anybody else that is kind of speaking about it. Peyton Manning was on the program, I think, maybe like 3 weeks ago. And he talked about that rookie year, about how he felt like he needed to play, throw him in the deep end. Obviously, he still has the interception record for rookies. He thinks he'll have it forever, even though they've added a game. But he talked about, like, those game reps really mattered to him. Then you're the complete opposite. What is that, like 3.5 years? Mm-hmm. You wait, and then you get dropped in.
3 years.
3 years, and then you get dropped in, and you're in there. You said that you think being a backup and, like, kind of waiting is perfect for you. Is it situations or situational? Like, because what's happening in New England right now, in your division, obviously, so you know that, obviously. But that's a massive talking point, what's happening with Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. And it's like the plan we thought going in was like, Drake May is going to back up. He's going to watch quarterback. He's going to see how it goes. Then inevitably they'll put him in. Some Patriots fans, not all of them, are like, if not now, when are we going to do it? Coach Mayo came out and said, Jacoby's our starter 100%. We're moving forward. So allegedly, we would assume that means he's sticking with the plan. But you watching that situation develop or other quarterback situations develop, I assume you do have some sort of opinions on how your situation ended up with Brett Favre being the starting quarterback for like 3 years and then you getting dropped in and kind of not missing a beat. Jordan Love, a couple years behind you, then getting dropped in, not missing a beat. Is it just, it depends on the player, or if you can't, like Peyton was never going to be a backup quarterback. The human he is, the situation he was going in, could he have benefited from it? How do you feel about that? And I know I just said a lot, but there's a lot happening in this vein of conversation right now in sports.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask, that's a question for Peyton, whether he would have benefited or not. But I think Ryan Leaf would have benefited from it, and he was the second pick that year. It's just different situations. And again, I go back to the patience, with Coach Mayo out there, just having the patience to let his kid develop and to let Drake develop. Jacoby's a proven starter in the league for a long time. My situation is very rare, and I would say the same thing about Jordan. Where I got to, and he got to sit behind future Hall of Famers. Who can show what it looks like, can allow you to learn without being thrown in there or have your confidence shredded at all, to work on your game, to learn defenses, to learn the offense, become a master of the offense. And then in spots, you get a chance to play, the preseason, an injury here and there, and you start to gain a little confidence with that. And then when you hit the ground running, you got to go. And that's why last year was a make or break year, just like it was 2008 for me, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think I showed, that I could be a long-term starter. Jordan obviously showed he could be a long-term starter, and away they went. That's just not the game plan anymore because it's such a reactionary league from owners and fans where it's like, oh, we lost, oh, put the other guy in. Oh, we lost, oh, fire this guy, get rid of this guy. That's not a great way to operate. If you're an owner, you hire the guys you think can get the job done, and you trust them. And you're a GM and you hire a head coach, you trust them to get the job done. And you set the plan, and if the plan is good enough day one, it should be good enough after week 4, should be good enough after week 10, should be good enough in year 2, and you're like, is this the time we got to play this guy? When he's ready, when the system is ready, when the guys around him are ready, then play him. And sometimes that's in year 1, or sometimes you don't have a choice. You don't know what you're going to get. I don't know if they knew what they're going to get from Jaden Daniels. We saw him in the joint practices. I thought he looked good. I liked his film from college because I watched 2 of the kids they had. I thought he was obviously the intangibles, scrambling ability, incredible. Could the read option stuff work in the league? I don't know. You don't know. You never know. But he's obviously figured it out. Again, we're 4 games in. 4 games, he looked pretty damn good.
Historic.
Really damn good.
Yeah.
But you never know until they're out there. Even if a guy's ready in the second year, you never know. And you need to have patience. And I know that's a really hard thing to have from owners and fan bases and coaches because it's a what have you done for me lately league and a snap knee-jerk reaction league. You guys do it every Monday.
Who?
Overreaction Monday. And that's part of it because you're part of it, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the way our league is. But we need to have a little patience with these quarterbacks. If you have a guy, now let's say this in closing. If you have a guy who you know is going to be a long-time, decade-long starter, that's who you believe he is, then you might have to go through some growing pains the first couple of years. You might. Or you might sit him and know when he comes in, he's going to be a decade-long starter. You got a situation in place you think can be a bridge the gap. For us in Green Bay, it wasn't bridging the gap. It was a guy we think we'd win a championship with, obviously. And then, all right, then let him go for a decade. I went a little longer than that. With Jordan, he didn't. It wasn't a bridge the gap. It was me playing at a high level. And then when it was time for his time, you think he's going to be a 10-plus year starter. With these young guys, if you're playing him right away and you think he's a 10-plus year starter in the league, that's his ceiling. Then you got to go through the growing pains without overreacting every single game. Win, crown him, lose, get rid of him. That's just not sustainable in this league. It's not sustainable in business either. And we are a business. So the business should be what is in the best interest of the business moving forward in a positive direction. And that is not overreacting. That's hiring the right guys, trusting them to do their job, and then letting them do their job.
I appreciate that answer on the entirety of the NFL right there. And we'll get better to not be a part of the problem. Right, boys?